What is going on, people? Welcome to Live Palace News. It is the end of July, the last day of the July. It is the 31st of July, Wednesday, and things are heating up with Rak-Sakyi. Why is he missing on tour? We'll be discussing that and also other updates as well. As always, if you do enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Of course, as you can tell, I'm in a different setup today. Even me, I'm trying to get comfortable in the chair before talking about this because today's show, it is very interesting. We are going to be having some serious discussions about one of our youngsters that some of us rate, some of us say he should be playing the first team, some of us say he might not be ready yet. And we're going to be talking about his future because his future, there's some massive question marks after the news that came out yesterday when we did end the stream. But before we actually get into that, today, well, tomorrow, technically in the UK time, at around 12:45 a.m., we will be doing a live watch along. Around 3 a.m. UK time, we will be doing a live match reaction. So basically, in less than 12 hours, you'll be having 3 Palace streams because the boys are playing tonight. Well, this morning, depending on where you are in the world. So we'll be covering all of that. So hopefully we get to see some of you there, especially our American viewers. I don't know if many people from the UK will be awake for that, but yeah. There's going to be a lot of content coming out. I'll be with Nick for the watch along and also T for the live match reaction at 3 a.m. But how are we feeling? Before we get into the news, there is an update, of course, on Rak-Sakyi. That is going to be the main talking point today. And it is going to be an interesting talking point. It's not just a talking point by the sake of, oh, this is a rumor A, and that's it. No. Today, serious discussions about his future because things are getting a bit weird, in my opinion. And also, we've been linked with a striker that we've turned down. So we'll get your thoughts on that as well. Whether you're surprised that we turned him down and more. And we'll be answering your questions. But as always, hit the like button, subscribe. I think we're less than 70 away from 5,000, which is crazy. We're edging closer by the day. So thank you to every single one of you that has already done that. No cupboard. Yes, there is no cupboard today, as you can tell. In fact, there is actually... You can tell what kind of household I'm in if you look at the background. There is a scarf there. Let's see if you can guess what team that is. And trust me, it's not Palace. It is not Palace. And it is not my scarf because those of you who watch the show, you know that this is not my house. This is not the normal setup, but I'll be here for the next week or so. Look, let's get into it. A few of you already joined. A few of you are going to be watching replay. And let's talk about Jezren Rak-Sakyi because that is the main talking point. And let's start off with Alan Nixon's report that's come out yesterday saying the following, that Jezren Rak-Sakyi has stayed behind in England. As we told you on yesterday's stream, a few people, of course, that went over to the opening training session noticed that, especially Patrick from Back of the Nest. And I mean, it wasn't a talking point. I did even mention yesterday, it wasn't a talking point, but I still brought it up because, you know, what exactly is going on with Rak-Sakyi staying behind? Is he actually going out on loan? But things seems a bit more interesting. Let me continue to the report from Alan Nixon. He's saying that Palace wanted him to fight for a place in the first team. And the decision to stay home has raised question marks. Let's stop here because there's another report which we're going to read out. But that last sentence of Palace wanted him to fight for a spot in the first team and the decision to stay home has raised question marks. Now, let me get your opinions on this. But for me, that is very weird. What I'm getting from that report is Palace wanted him to come on tour, to the US tour, of course. And a lot of people, of course, from this channel, even me, were excited to see the prospect of Rak-Sakyi play against Premier League opponents. But, of course, Alan Nixon hasn't said this exactly. But I'll read it out again. Palace wanted him to fight for a place in the first team, and the decision to stay home has raised question marks. But has Rak-Sakyi actually refused to go on tour? Because that is the only thing that I'm getting from based on his report. If Palace want him and he stayed at home and there's question marks regarding that, then that means that Rak-Sakyi didn't want to come on tour. And why is that? Now, let me read another report. And this is where it gets a bit more interesting. This comes from Michael Bridge, and he said the following. He said that Rak-Sakyi is keen to join Southampton, but Palace are blocking the move by hoping he performs better in the second tier instead. People, this is getting a bit messy in terms of the Rak-Sakyi situation. It seems like from Michael Bridge that he is keen to join Southampton. In fact, we have actually spoke about that here on Back of the Nest. There were reports suggesting that Southampton have been increasing their bids. Rak-Sakyi's head potentially turning, and now the fact that he didn't travel with the team to the US tour, and the fact that that report comes out today from Michael Bridge after what Alan Nixon said about him staying at home raising question marks, it seems like this whole situation is getting a bit complex. It is getting a bit complex. And where does the football club go from here? Now, are Southampton guaranteeing him game time? Is that the case? Are Southampton guaranteeing him game time? I don't know. I don't know which Premier League football club can guarantee him game time and say you're going to start week in, week out. But what a Premier League football club can do is they can assure you that you're going to have more opportunities than maybe club, the current club that you're at. So is this why his head is turned? Is it down to wages? Are Southampton saying, you know what, we'll offer you more wages? Now, these are questions that right now, based on reports, we don't have the answer to. But things are getting serious, especially when a player doesn't go on US tour. And from what we gather from Alan Nixon is that the club wanted him to go on US tour. It doesn't have, it is not looking like a mutual agreement when there's question marks raised about the whole situation. Now, Rak-Sakyi is highly talented. He is young. And him wanting to join Southampton, I'll be honest, it's not particularly great look. And the reason why I'm saying that is some of you may disagree. Actually, I need to sit back, people. Sorry. My back is hurting. This chair is not ideal for the stream. My back's going to be hurting if I just lean forward all the time. So I'm going to sit back. But the problem, look, like I'm just sinking now. Hold up. Let me just change my seat position. There we go. The problem with this, in my opinion, is that we've got another Premier League club who have convinced our youth prospect that he has a better chance of, playing Premier League football than we do. And what makes it even worse for me is the fact that we need a player in that position. Now, I understand that we want to develop him and we want to send him out on loan to the Championship. But is he that far off? I don't think so. Of course, the club will know better than me, you, and everyone in the chat. And I'll be going through some of the comments. There's a lot of comments coming through. But it is getting weird now how persistent we are to send him out on loan. And in fact, that we're so persistent that this player is actually thinking, and it seems like not only thinking, it seems like it's getting serious about him wanting to join Southampton. It's gonna be interesting to see where he actually ends up, whether he actually leaves Palace on a permanent deal, because the report from Michael Bridge suggests that we are blocking a move. So by blocking a move, please don't. There's a cat and it's gonna point you. Don't hit my camera. By Palace blocking a move, is that going to cause a rift between Rak-Sakyi's camp and Palace? I don't know, but it's not looking that great. Let me see what the chat is saying. Get involved in the chat. Get involved in the comment section down below if you're watching on replay. Like the stream, subscribe, do all of that. Let's get started with this Rak-Sakyi dilemma. So people talk about Somerville. About Somerville for now. Let's talk about Rak-Sakyi, people. Also, so let's start with price. Market saying also 12 million is great money and sell-on fee. All parties are laughing. Well, based on reports right now, Palace are not laughing at that price tag because they are blocking a move. And Louis saying sounds like he might want to leave. Well, Michael Bridge is saying that Rak-Sakyi is keen to join Southampton and that Palace are blocking a move. So he sounds like more than he wants to leave. I think it's pretty certain that he wants to leave to join Southampton, based on reports anyways, and the fact that he hasn't joined the American tour. Looney saying, my opinion is there's two sides to every story. Palace may have wanted him to fight for a place, but we have to ask, why did Rak-Sakyi not want to? There must be a reason why a legitimate one. Is this head turned by Southampton, Looney? Is Rak-Sakyi thinking that Palace are not serious in terms of giving him the opportunities in the first team? Is it because, look, Rak-Sakyi, he's not old, he's not young, in terms of like, he's not like a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid coming from the block. He's had first team experience and he probably wants to settle somewhere. And he must have had these conversations with Palace as well. They must have had conversations about what the future lies with Rak-Sakyi. Is it just a case of another club right now, Premier League club, that could also get relegated, by the way? Premier League club for now, but they could get relegated. Is it a case of this this rivals of ours, Premier League rivals, not literally, just giving him more assurances. Is that the case that Palace cannot give? And if that is the reason, then why can't we give assurances like Southampton can? Of course, we are on a different level. We want to push for European spots, and you may make the argument that Rak-Sakyi is not ready for that. He's not ready for that. But what is it that has turned Rak-Sakyi's head? It might even not be Southampton alone. It might be just the wages. It might be combination of different things. But yeah, it's weird. Steven saying, how is he allowed to stay home if he wanted to go on tour? I don't see how he has an option to stay home. Confused. I'm confused as well. I think I'm confused as well. Igor saying this is not good. It will drive his price down. I agree. It's not really looking good. I don't know if Palace will agree to sell him at a lower price. He's still under contract, but I mean, it's not really a great look for the club and also for the player as well. It'd be nice to hear a bit more. Hart saying, you sure it's Glasgow wants him to go, or it's Palace that want him to go out on loan? Well, I mean, the manager must have a say in terms of who's going out on loan or not. If the manager thinks that this player is not ready for first team football, then Glasgow must be, agreeing with the fact that it should be going out on loan. So it's not really, I don't think it'll be like, oh, Doug Friedman wants him to go out on loan and Glasgow doesn't, or Glasgow wants him to stay. And I think they're in agreement as a football club that he should be going out on loan. But yeah, Mark said, I don't blame the kid at all. Exactly. And this is the situation, people. Like, realistically, I mean, we can talk as Palace fans, but if you put yourself in Rak-Sakyi's situation and you got a Premier League club who wants you, and not only top of that, look, this is how I'm looking at the situation. We've sold Elise, we've brought in Kamada, we're bringing in Sarr. But there is that spot there down the right-hand side because we have been targeting players there for Rak-Sakyi to be an option off the bench for depth. There is that opportunity there. And it seems like we've all along wanted him to go out on loan. So essentially what we're saying right now is he needs more time in the Championship before making a step up to the Premier League. And if the Premier League is saying, I want you, like, come to us, then it's not really, what is this cat doing? There's not really a great look. It's not really a great look in terms of, showing that pathway to the players. And he might be frustrated. Frustrated. Hart saying, why are we even signing Sarr? He's not good enough. We'll talk about Ayew and Schlupp. There's more updates on that as well. Colin's saying, it's a strange one to be honest. I'd put Rak-Sakyi alongside France and say that they're at the same stage. Both now need to play to progress as players. So the question is, why not giving Rak-Sakyi the chance as we are with France? Well, with France, the price tag I think involved is higher. Maybe that can play an influence as well. And maybe Glasner or Doug Friedman might think France is more ready than Rak-Sakyi. Maybe we just want to keep France a bit more in close hands and monitor him like that. But yeah, I mean, right now, France didn't do anything great last season. I'm not saying he won't be a great player for us, but yeah, that is a fair point to make because France and Rak-Sakyi, I think Rak-Sakyi could have a similar role to what France has had on the left-hand side, on the right. And I think that would have been a good step up for him. Instead of us persisting to send him out on loan and now blocking the move to another Premier League side. You're just making the whole situation a bit toxic and unnecessary. But how much is Rak-Sakyi worth then? How much is Rak-Sakyi worth? Now that Alan Nixon hasn't said a word refused, but I'll read it out again for those of you who just joined the stream. But he's essentially, he hasn't come on tour when Palace wanted him on tour, because I'll read out this paragraph from Alan Nixon saying, Palace wanted him to fight for a place in the first team and the decision to stay home has raised question marks. So you can make your own judgment on that. If you want to use refuse, if you want to use any other words, that's up to you. But Alan Nixon hasn't said that. But now that this situation has happened and Michael Bridge reporting that Rak-Sakyi is keen to join Southampton, how much would we be happy for Rak-Sakyi to be sold? Because I think he's got massive potential. I'm worried about the Rak-Sakyi situation because he could go to Southampton and he could embarrass us. Like, he could embarrass us in terms of the decision that we made to persistently try to send him out on loan and then afterwards sending him to Southampton. Of course, just like the O'Brien situation, this whole transfer, if it was to happen, not saying that it's happening because Palace are reportedly blocking the move, I think there'll be a lot of context there because if Rak-Sakyi is pushing for a move, we might be, more willing to sell him, even though we're blocking it right now. But look, 15, Red 15 says Evan. For me, 2025 with must added clauses. Realistically, Luke saying 10 to 15. Malcolm is not a better player. And he's contracted till 2027 as well. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He's on the contract, so we have to be careful about the situation. I'm not saying only we. Rak-Sakyi also has to be careful as well. I understand wanting to prove yourself in the Premier League and, you know, having that go at first in football with Southampton. I think that would be great for him. But just make sure, my advice for Rak-Sakyi, just make sure you don't do anything silly in terms of, you know, trying to push for a move and kind of burning your bridges with Palace. That hasn't happened yet, but this story is not really ending. Where Palace wanted one thing and Rak-Sakyi wanted another. They need to come to a mutual agreement. Either Palace need to put a price and tell Rak-Sakyi, look, if we get this price from Southampton from you, and if we get this deal, we'll sell you to Southampton. Or another option needs to be made. An agreement needs to come from both parties, because question marks being raised is not really a great look right now. Guy could say the buyback clause would be nice. I think whatever deal we do with Southampton, if we were to do a deal, there will be a selling clause. I don't know about a buyback clause. There will be a selling clause. But I think Palace, the reason why we're not so keen on selling them, and the reason why the report from Michael Bridge, Sky Sports reporter, of course, some of you may know him, suggesting that Palace are blocking moves, is because I just get the feeling that we're worried as a football club about the whole Rak-Sakyi situation and letting him go to Southampton and then him actually performing at Southampton. That I think that worry must be there at the back of the heads of those at the football club, because if he does, that value of people saying £15 million, for example, that could easily get embarrassed in the space of, I don't know, 6 months if he's performing consistently in the Premier League. We've seen it with Adam Walton. We signed Adam Walton for what, 2025? And within, you know, half a season, Adam Walton, he's easily doubled that price tag, and we don't want to end up in a similar situation with Rak-Sakyi, because that won't be great. And I guess we can talk about this as well, because I want Rak-Sakyi, because I think this is a very interesting topic that delves into different categories as well. And that's why I do want to remain in this topic. And Eagle Eye Football saying academy pathway is a joke, though, failing badly. I want to get into this side of the story as well. What do we think of the academy pathway? Because I've always had this notion that the academy is going to come good for Palace. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen, for example, Southampton, funny enough. I've seen Fulham. I've seen numerous other clubs coming to South London and taking the talent from South London, from schools and different networks. I've seen it happen. But at that time, our academy facilities weren't built to the level that some of the other academy facilities were. But now that's been sorted. So I do think that the academy is going to come good for us within the next 5 years or so. Of course, you can't fast forward the whole process. Some of these academy prospects that are just starting up young, that are going through all of this redevelopment at the academy and the with the new infrastructure, they will see the benefits between 5 years or so. But the problem now is the pathway. Now, there's been a few players, for example, Ozo's going out on loan to Derby. I don't think a lot of people are upset with that, because Wharton's the career starting. Teo, for example, Teo Ademirola, he's gone out on loan. Yes, he's gone out on loan to Stockport, but we do need a left wing back. But then again, on the other side of things, it seems like Uma's having a chance, and there are some academy prospects that have been called up to the first team. Now, that might be the case because of the likes of Eze, Gehi, etc. being out, Munoz and Lerma, due to the international tournament. But there have, been some first-team prospects that's been called up to the US tour as well. But what do we think about the academy pathway right now? Are we thinking that, it's still a bit too early? We have to give it time to see the academy blossom and reach the potential that we know that it could reach? Or do you think that we should be given more opportunities? Well, the Rak-Sakyi situation is significant, in my opinion, about the whole academy pathway situation. Because for me, down the right-hand side, I don't think he needs another championship loan to be a backup option down the right-hand side. I don't think he needs that. I think he's ready for that. But some of you may disagree, for example. So he naturally should fit in that hole if we're talking about academy pathway. But he's not. And I think that's why Eagle Eye Football saying that he is failing badly. I wouldn't say he's failing badly, in my opinion. I do think there's a question mark over it. But I don't think we have failed yet. There are still some prospects that are young that are coming through. There are some academy players that look exciting as well. In fact, look, Ume, he might actually have a chance with the first team, because based on the reports, he might have a chance at left wing back. Glasner wants to develop him there. But yeah, for us, the academy should be pretty significant and we should give more chances. But technically, we haven't. We haven't, not as much. Let's see what you lot think about the academy and Jez situation. Errol saying Jez must be frustrated. Last season was meant to be championship loan, and this season his game time is seen a squad. Hodgson convinced him to stay. Must think Ayew, Kamada, Sarr is ahead of him. Well, Ayew looks like he could easily leave this summer. So with the Ayew situation, I wouldn't think he's worried about Ayew. But yeah, I mean, it seems like we're just not willing to give him a go right now. Louis saying, seems like there's pathway. Glasner has only just opened up the opportunity, and that's one of the reasons I rate Glasner. Exactly, it's pretty early on as well. I think that's a fair point to make with Glasner and the academy pathway, because look, Glasner hasn't been here long enough. Roy Hodgson, we all know it. He prefers experienced players. We have seen that in the past as well. So yeah. Amit saying, I think if we saw Rak-Sakyi, we'll come to regret it. What is saying can't have both ways? People wanting a signing in Rak-Sakyi's position or promote a youth. Well, I guess we can't have it in both ways. You are right. We can't have it in both ways. And we have been linked with a few players. I'm just watching this cat, just in case it's going to tilt the camera. But, you know, it's not like a straightforward answer for the club as well. I think there are some important decisions that need to be made. And Connie saying preseason is showing Rak-Sakyi is ready for backup. I think the US tour would have shown that Rak-Sakyi is ready for backup. And maybe that's why we wanted him to go on tour. And if he's refusing to go on tour, which it seems like, it's not really a great look on him either. That's what I'm saying. The whole situation is complex. It's just complex. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. You can have different opinions. You won't be wrong. For example, see, we have Rai saying, I don't think it's Prem level. I think he needs game time at this stage in his career. And that's fair enough. Like, you can have that opinion because he hasn't proven himself in the Premier League. But in my opinion, I think he's capable enough to be that backup option. Red saying Jez smelt BS. Fair enough. Henry saying we are producing players, just not good at giving them a chance in the first team. Not since Wilf has done it without an injury crisis. Mitchell and Wan-Bissaka came through for this reason. Academy to first team pathway is non-existent. And there are some few academy players. Let's see tonight, by the way, people. As for those of you that's joining now, we will be having a watch along. Let's see some of the academy players, whether they'll get an opportunity. Because Glasner, after the Crawley game, he did say that he's looking to give around 45 minutes to some of these players. So maybe academy players, we might see 45 minutes of them against Premier League opposition. So that would be good. Kyle saying, I don't know if I read this. I don't think I have. We've definitely mishandled Jez last year, but part of the benefit of the academy is bringing in money too. Of all the 10s we've been linked with, to Jez, Rak-Sakyi has the least impressive CV, only results in League One so far, which is fair enough. But I mean, we've just sent him there. And I guess now we're trying to set him on Championship to prove himself there, but he might be convinced that he's ready for Premier League, which I don't blame him. Of course, believe in your own hype. Twister saying, if true, his attitude stinks, sell him ASAP. Of course, that is a big if it is true. Mohammed saying, Rak is not good. It's not good reader of the game when to run forward, when just to maintain the ball. Malcolm does it better for me. I have to pass like Elisa. Well, Malcolm has to prove himself. Malcolm's going out on loan. He should be going out on loan anyways to Oxford. So he has. That's a player that's going to prove himself. So yeah, I guess only time will tell Malcolm. Come Natural saying, I don't get it. He plays one preseason, scores goals, then he's excluded from. But that's the thing. Let's clarify this. The report from Nixon is saying that Palace wanted him to fight for a place in the first team, and the decision to stay home has raised question marks. It doesn't seem like Palace excluded him from the USA tour. It seems like he decided to stay home. That's what I'm getting anyways, unless you lot misinterpret it differently. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like we excluded him from the US tour. But that... right, 1G. But that doesn't mean... that doesn't mean that, you know, it was particularly us. But let's see, people. Let's see actually what happens with the situation. If you're enjoying the stream, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so. And also send in your questions. I'll try to pin them. I haven't pinned any questions. Send them in again if you've sent any questions so far. And we will answer them towards the end of the show. Now, let's move on to the second bit of news. And that is from Bobby. That is Bobby Manzi. And he said that Crystal Palace were presented with the opportunity to sign Roma's Tammy Abraham, the club are not expected to explore a move. Interesting. It seems like we've rejected Tammy Abraham according to Bobby Manzi. Wonder why. Wages, price tag. Could be numerous different reasons why we could have potentially rejected Tammy Abraham. But what do you think about that? What do you think about rejecting potentially Tammy Abraham? He's a player that some of you that have mentioned in the past, for example, as striker options. But for me, I think with this, I reckon it's down to the finances. That's my bold prediction. With Tammy, as we've seen with Emil Smith-Rowe, for example, we're not really keen on paying high prices on some of these players. We want to bring them in at low price with the potential to sell them on even further. And yeah, I mean, there's a few academy player talks as well. Nothing significant as of yet. But if there's any questions, I'll answer them. If not, we'll wrap up because today we're doing 3 streams, by the way, people. 3 streams, one at 12:45 a.m. So in about 6 hours time, that's a watch along. Then afterwards at 3 a.m. UK time, a live match reaction to it. So there's no point in spending all the time here. There'll be more Palace content coming along the way. Let's read some more questions before we do wrap up. Martin saying, I believe every Premier League club should be made to give at least 5 English academy players a minimum of 5 to 6 games per season, which will help the national team ultimately. Well, the national team, I don't think we've had problems developing youth in the country. I don't think that's been a real issue. When you look at the national team, I think there's been some incredible talent that's been produced. So I don't think we need to introduce 5 or 6 games per season because we haven't really had the issue with the national team. I think the national team has come down. I mean, there's been success there depending on how you measure success, but going to finals, etc. Like there hasn't been any problems with the national team. So I don't think we have to change anything in that regards. I think Rak-Sakyi is talented, but Crystal Palace aren't training well. Fair enough. Rex is saying, personally, think we need another 10 and wing back still got much more work to do. Game doesn't start at 12 a.m. UK time. It starts at 1 a.m. You better start at 1 a.m. UK time because that's what, it's 1 a.m. UK time, right? It is. I'm looking at Palace, the Palace app, and it's saying 1 a.m. 1st of August. So tomorrow, 1 a.m. in the morning. So it is 1 a.m. So you would have been well prepared, but you would have been an hour early to the game. So yeah, it starts at 1 a.m. UK time, and we'll be live from 12:45. I want Ivan Toney so gettable. I don't think he's so gettable. I'll be honest, twisted. And the reason why he's not so gettable is because, first of all, the price is not cheap, and second of all, why would you want to join Palace when there have been clubs like Man United linked with him? Let's see where he actually ends up, but I don't think that is a realistic signing, in my opinion. That is the next one. That's the West Ham one, not the Wolves one. So yeah, 1 a.m. UK time, people. Did you hear about Glasner trying to convert Alhamada into right wing back cover for Munoz? I haven't heard about that, but for me to believe that, I probably have to see it in pre-season. So if Glasner shows it in pre-season, then that'll be good because we've heard the same with Ume is going to be down the left-hand side, but Alhamada, I haven't heard of that. Let's see if Alhamada actually gets a go. I just want Mo Bamba for the song. Yeah, he's been linked with us, but that's gone quiet as well. But look, people, I'm going to wrap up now. Hopefully we get to see some of you in a live watch along in about 6 hours time and a live match reaction. If you're not going to be joining us live for that, you can watch on replay. But as always, if you have enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Hopefully catch up with some of you in less than 6 hours time. But until then, up the Palace and keep safe.